the Bears.
Welcome everyone into Barely Educated. We are here to talk about some actually significant Bears news here in the middle of the playoffs. We are recording this midweek of Conference Championship week. Chris, how are you?
Doing all right. One of these years we'll be talking about the Bears actually being in the playoffs, right? During playoffs.
If we get another Conference Championship week, it's going to be a pod every day, buddy.
I'm still so excited. Yeah.
Riding the roller coaster. Yeah, so we'll get to the games this weekend. We're having to do this on a Wednesday because I'm off to Houston tomorrow, and I'm going to miss big chunks of the games, which has me a little sad. But it's for a really great conference, and it'll be fun.
Nice.
Um, I'll stream some on my phone somehow. But conference ends Saturday night. But then you got to fly back and all that. But really, though, the lead here is the Bears have a new offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, who many of us had at the top of our list once the Bears decided to keep Flus. What do you think of this hire? And then we'll get into some of the numbers for his Seahawks offense the last 3 years.
Yeah, on paper looks good. He's an experienced play caller, which is a new thing for
They never do this.
right recent memory.
Martz, right? That was about the only one recently.
March, yeah, and maybe like what Ron Turner would be the other
Maybe it's a bad thing.
one. Well, it's at least.
But then you look at the ones that haven't done it.
Yeah, there's a crapshoot element to it, I guess. But
For sure. But I do like that he's got some experience, and he wasn't. The problem with Getsy wasn't even to me so much that he didn't have experience. It's that he had Rodgers. Like, how does that?
Yeah.
How do you learn anything about the coach, who's really at that time just the QB coach?
Yeah, I was duped in by that. I thought, "Ooh, he worked with Rodgers. This will be great for Fields." And then, like you just pointed out, he was with Rodgers. What did he really do? What did he really teach? So
Yeah. And that's an interesting word to bring up, not just because we're professors, but because the Bears keep bringing it up. In his comments the other day about the hire, Flus brought up the teaching component. In the press conference after they kept Flus, when both Poles and Flus met the media, they both, I think at least Flus again, maybe both, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know that teaching as part of the gig came up again. And I don't want to like be too conspiratorial, but just for fun, it does make me wonder if in Flus's mind, one of the major problems with Getsy was he couldn't teach it to the players well enough, especially Fields.
that would make
Because
sense.
it's an interesting thing to emphasize.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
So,
I hadn't considered that, and that's what it looked like. You know, week after
yep.
week, especially early on. So yeah, I mean that it did seem like Flus likes Fields more than Getsy did, and the way a lot of the
Yeah, it's interesting.
when what's his name, Division 3 guy or Division 2 guy was playing, forgot his name
Bajan.
already.
I love how
Bajan.
you don't even know his name.
How could
The
I forget
anti-meatball
Bajan?
composer doesn't even know Bajan's name anymore.
Oh no.
You're no meatball,
Oh
sir.
no, I'm sorry, I've let everyone down. No,
I've never been more proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
But when he was playing, and some of the questions about what is Getsy telling the broadcasters, because they are really pumping this guy up, and so yeah, all that to say, maybe Flus was a bigger fan than Fields than Getsy was.
I mean, Fields' leadership and all the character, he sees all the little coaching, unquantifiable talking points, right? That's kind of my problem with him is it's like, okay, but what does it mean on the field, right? Like, it's obviously a problem if you have a big fat zero at that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think Flus and Poles like Justin the person plenty. But back to Waldron, because I really don't want to do the QB thing today. I don't got the energy for it. You got to get out of here. I got to go pack. There'll be 4 months of that, right?
Yeah, plenty of time.
3 months of it left. So here's Waldron's offense under the Seahawks, where he was the OC from 21 to 23. Before I mention that, I will note, as most people already know this, he is from the McVay tree.
That's
He'd
good.
worked with McVay in Washington and was the passing game coordinator for the Rams at one point before ultimately landing as the OC for the Seahawks, which is most recently, and also, of course, the same gig. So that's the part we really care about. But he is from the tree that does tend to do well in the NFL. So 21 to 23, OC of the Seahawks. They were 12th in EPA per play, 13th in success rate, 8th in EPA per rush, which is interesting because you don't think of them as a running team,
Mm-hmm.
14th in EPA per drop back, with Geno Smith getting his career sort of rejuvenated, and then Russell Wilson for part of a year before he gets hurt, and then a really bad QB situation the rest of that year. So it's not like he's had elite QBs. And then yards per play, if you want to do the more traditional numbers and not quite as much of the sabermetrics, we got them all here. Thanks to Brad Spielberger on Twitter, PFF Brad at PFF Brad. Phenomenal follow. Yards per play, they were sixth. Touchdown drive rate, 12th. Series conversion rate, 11th. Scoring drive rate from a field position, basically better than their own 40, right? Like when you have a short enough field that should darn well better score. They were eighth. Pass rate, ninth. Explosive play rate, ninth. Play action rate, 14th. RPO, 12th. Deep pass rate, third. Maybe that's
Oh,
DK factor.
like that.
Uh, yards before contact per attempt, ninth. Outside zone, which is what the Bears are ready to roll with as an O line, fifth. Inside zone, 13th in terms of play call percentages. Although this is not really what Getzy was doing this last year much. We didn't really run that much outside zone, which I think was kind of silly. But third down conversion rate is maybe one of the two red flags for me.
Okay. Okay.
23rd. However, Brad notes second in the NFL in converting first downs into a new series, which is elite
That's
and
pretty
really
good.
good on second down as well. So he wasn't great on third down, but he was great at not having third down.
Yeah, that's
And
good. Good on first and second down.
boy,
I'll
what I
take
wouldn't give to have him keep that aggression then, because that's one of the biggest problems I have with bringing Flus back.
that.
And then the other red flag was red zone TD rate, which was only 26th.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That is, and they had some good wide receivers too. So that is a little.
That's the big question is what's up with that stat?
Yeah. They
The
had some.
rest are basically fine.
They have O-line issues though, Seattle.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah.
especially up the middle.
And no
It's
run.
odd. I think he is going to a more talented offense, even with whichever option they go with at QB. If assuming they get a receiver in here, which they have to
Often you
do.
said that.
And hey, you know who might be a cap casualty because he's owed 17 and they're over. And you have to wonder how hard they're going to hit the reset button.
Mooney.
Lockett.
Oh, I thought you meant the Bears. Lockett. Oh, interesting.
Just throwing that out there for kicks before the offseason really begins. So
Maybe.
there's a lot to like in all that I just rattled off. And I know for some of you, maybe the eyes glaze over with that. But the point is, he has been top to middle of the pack, depending on the number, except for the red zone, which is the red flag. And you say, well, then why are you so happy with the higher? Middle of the pack is what you get when you don't go after these play callers who become head coaches.
Hmm. That's a good
That's
point.
the problem with keeping Flus is you already lost Ben Johnson. Ben
Right.
Johnson is not calling your plays because he's not doing anything but taking a head coach gig.
Yeah. How come? Any speculation
So
on why Waldron has not gotten head coach nod opportunities? Is that just because the Seahawks offense has been in flux with Geno Smith and then in his injury and because
uh, I, I think you still have to be like in that you have to be a little higher than those numbers
okay, all right,
for the most part, don't you?
because that's a
And I think a lot of it is too just like, do you have a good enough quarterback? Did you make a young quarterback
right.
look great? Like Slowick's going to get a job because of his work with CJ Stroud.
Yes, yeah.
Gino, that's really impressive because he was a journeyman, but I mean, it's like you're kind of like going, well, how much was that with the coach? Just the guy getting just more mature. Like it's
Yeah,
CJ Stroud looked great under your offense is a much bigger feather in the cap, even though he's way more talented than Gino. But it'll matter more because everybody's trying to do this with a QB.
yeah,
Most
that
teams
makes
aren't
sense.
trying to, reclaim a 30-year-old.
Yeah, just interesting that he's been doing this for 3 years, offensive coordinator and play caller, and he leaves basically taking a lateral career move to the Bears. You don't see
Yes.
that very often.
And he did have another interview with the Saints were interested. And a lot of these teams aren't yet looking for their OC because they're still looking for their head coach, or the teams in the playoffs who are about to lose their OCs to head coach aren't looking yet. So this is smart by the Bears. Go jump out in front,
Yeah,
get what I think we can call a solid at worst, above average candidate, good at best. He's not elite. Again, if he was, he's not available for this position.
right.
That's my take. That's the
Yeah,
problem with keeping Flus. You set the bar lower, but they actually maxed out that bar.
yeah, true, true.
He
Yeah,
checks enough boxes to certainly like it better than I liked keeping Flus in the first place.
and to make it, I know you don't want to talk about quarterback, but
There is an angle we do need to talk about with it. I just didn't want to do the whole like deep dive on what they should do yet.
yeah. So is your angle here the idea of working with Caleb Williams was quite a carrot to get him over here, and maybe even possibly some whispering like, "Hey, if things don't work out with Eberflus and you're doing well, we could promote you." Would polls maybe have?
Well, I doubt you take a job if you think, I'll replace this idiot head coach, right? Like that's a lot to risk.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't mind it if that happened if he was good.
yeah, true, yeah,
I would say so. I don't think the Bears landing on him proves it one way or the other in terms of where they're leaning,
uh huh,
Fields versus Williams. But I do think him picking the Bears, if that's how it went down, like if he really was a strong candidate for the Saints too, and he preferred the Bears, that could be because Williams is one of the better paths any of these guys would have right now to being a head coach.
right,
Do
yeah,
what Slowick did for Stroud with Williams next year, and you're on the fast track.
mm-hmm,
Take a year or two, and you get that time because he's still a rookie, etc. You got one shot with Fields if you're the OC,
right,
and they go that route.
yeah.
So that I thought was pretty an interesting kind of way to look at it. Um, but man, who knows? I mean,
Especially to take the lateral career move, in my opinion, it seems like it would have.
well,
There
he
would,
had to, right? There wasn't going to be a head coaching gig for him yet,
yeah, yeah,
and they kind of lucked out with the Carroll thing, making him
yes,
available.
yeah, and then the Seahawks saying, "Take our coaches,"
Yeah,
basically.
pretty much. And he's going to do that. He's already interviewed the receivers coach. Like by the time this week's out, he'll probably have a couple of his pals sign me up for that guy, since our receivers are not developing correctly.
Right, that's right.
And they've done a pretty good job there. Certainly one of their sort of niches. So yeah, I think it's a good hire at most, and at very least solid.
Hmm. I would agree.
Okay, my big question beyond that for you today, and then we'll get to the playoffs. What can the Bears do now that they've hitched their wagon to Flus? What can they do this season to still get an A grade from you for the off season, or can they even do that at all?
I think for me the biggest thing is how does the draft shake out? Especially with the ninth pick, like you go on wide receiver there, you want to try to find another edge or defensive line there, and then later on picks, which polls has seemed to be pretty good with. How are you continuing to beef up the roster? To me, that's really the key thing. And assuming that they draft Caleb Williams, how does he look after his first year in the league? Does it look like, yes, this is the right call? Because more than likely he would be around longer than Eberflus, right? So, do we have a
Hopefully.
QB for the next? Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, we want him to be good enough that that's the case. Even if
Yeah,
Flus improves, he'd still be. I don't know how
yeah.
long the guy coaches versus the QB plays, but yeah.
So I
See,
guess I'd put it on Ryan Poles. What is he doing with the draft and continuing to fill out the roster, add depth to the roster, catch up to Green Bay and Detroit? Man, uh, the
gonna
take.
take the North. Good luck. You've
Yeah,
got one playing for a Super Bowl and another in the playoffs that almost beat the one seed with their
yep,
first
on the
year
road.
starting QB.
Yep,
The
yep,
North, actually, both Norths have a pretty decent chance, I think, to end up the best two divisions in the league next year.
yeah. That's the thing. The Bears could make major strides next year and still end up third place in the division.
They sure could. I
Oh,
agree. For me, the answer to that question is
yeah.
no, they cannot get an A.
Okay.
The ship has sailed with the A because they kept Flus. It's like if I have to give a student a revision on a paper, I'm not letting you have an A. You don't get the same opportunity that the people that got it right the first time get. And you've already gotten this huge thing wrong. This was your chance to sync it up
Yeah.
and not have to worry about losing the coordinator. Though I will say, if again, I said it last time, if that happens, we're all thrilled because the QB kicked butt and the
Right.
coach was good and they were actually productive in the passing game for once. But you still are making things more difficult for yourself. And I'm not going to just gloss that over just because the free agency and the draft were good. But I would love for the free agency and the draft to be good enough to bring me up to a B plus. And then this time next year, we're sitting here saying, yeah, Williams was good as a rookie. He's going to be coach proof soon.
Mm.
And the QB can be the balm that soothes all the pain if we can ever get one right. I do think to get that B plus, you're gonna have to draft a QB. The Justin Fields scenario is not a B plus scenario after this thing, guys. Just it's so hard not to talk about it.
That's the
He
most
just
important
doesn't hit the
position in
first
sports.
read when the first read is open. He doesn't throw it when he does see it, or he's looking at it and somehow doesn't recognize it. It is crippling that he can't play with timing and he won't take open shots in the middle of the field, especially. Like that's it. Game, set, match. And I only mention it because of all the comparisons to Lamar Jackson with his success with the Ravens this year and now obviously this week
Mhm.
and possibly into Super Bowl buildup. Justin is a mile away from Lamar as a pocket passer. He has a better deep ball, but he doesn't do any of the rest of it in the passing game better.
Mhm.
And it matters.
It
So
does.
you have to move on as hard as that is for many of us. And I
It's gonna
think you have
happen.
to get a receiver and you have to get somebody on the D line. You do and a center. You do those four things, and I'll definitely be in that B range and hopefully B plus.
Can you maybe they can trade 9 for 2 later picks and get a wide receiver and a defensive or a first and a later first and a second maybe
Here's your
because
crazy dream scenario.
they still have no second. So yeah.
You ready for the crazy dream
Yes,
scenario?
hit
I
me.
saw some fan retweeted their mock draft from PFF. You know, that 'tis the season. He had traded, I don't even know who it was. He had traded Fields and the 9 and some change for the number 3 pick and some change with the Patriots.
Oh,
So basically, he was going for the cost of moving up from 9 to 3 is Fields.
wow.
And I'm like, sign me up.
Yeah, 1 and 3. So like
Now I might be like, okay, fine, an A minus if you manage to come out of the draft.
you get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. Is that what you're thinking? That would be I'd take that.
Yeah,
Yeah, in a
exactly. If you
heartbeat.
come out with those two, you can't be too upset.
Oh. I don't see him going to New England, but Fields that is in a trade, but
No, that'd be pretty. It's crazy. I'm not saying it's like even remotely likely, but
yeah.
we can dare to dream. All
Yeah.
right, so we are on the eve of the conference
Yeah.
championships. What have we learned that might be applicable to the Bears through 2 rounds of playoff games?
Number one, they're far away. That was
From getting to this point, yes, I think we should have a standard where we want them competing for a wild card berth, though,
yeah.
and then they get their doors blown off by a real team. But
Yeah. Kind of like what 2020 against New Orleans. Yeah, they
we have to quit being perpetually trying to figure everything out.
mm, sadly. Well,
Yeah,
they should be better next year. I mean, even,
yeah.
regardless
I
of
think so.
yeah. Um, it's kind of a tangent here, though. I was surprised that the Packers today fired Joe Barry, their defensive coordinator. It seemed like,
Well, he was terrible for 2 years and then okay this year, and then they fired him. That's what's weird about
well,
it.
that's what. And the last couple weeks, they were. I mean, they
Playing
finished
better.
the end of the season strong, and then shut down Dallas and to an extent San Francisco too. So
Man, I hope they get that hired wrong because there's enough talent on that defense to
yes,
be
yeah.
concerning.
But anyway, that kind of leapfrog into the talent gap again. It's just that they're still on both sides of the ball, and it's only 1 year away from the teardown, so I guess that kind of makes sense. But there are still lots of holes that need to be plugged in on both sides, and the defense is close. I think they're
It's just frustrating that Green Bay can transition from Rodgers to Love and barely skip a beat. And the Bears are like, we don't have a quarterback. We got to tear everything down. Everybody
yeah,
sucks. It's like, can we even get the lines right once? I mean, that's the other big difference in these franchises.
yeah,
I
big.
think the lesson for the Bears is it's a Rorschach's test, like the whole draft the QB or build the nest. I mean, I think the nest is good enough to a point. It's not like you're walking into one of these dumpster fires as the number one pick. But so I think you can find evidence of either approach on a certain level. But I think the Texans are the best example. Because look what can happen if you can pair the right coaches with the right quarterback. It can happen immediately. It's not
Yeah,
common, but it can be done.
yeah, second worst team to playoff team. Not a bad jump.
And they beat down a team in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
they
I
had no
know.
chance against the Ravens. I get that, but
Yeah,
man,
no
like
shame losing to them. Yeah.
that day would be rough as a fan, right? But you're still looking at the season as a whole. We would all be thrilled if the Bears won the division, won a playoff game, and then lost. We'd be like, that was a great season. We're on the climb.
Right. Right.
So they've shown that. I think that's the biggest, most applicable thing to the Bears. Um, and then I don't know. There's just a lot of like interesting things I think that I don't know if they really apply that much to the Bears specifically, but like Philadelphia botched the coordinators and just
Wow.
fell apart.
Unbelievable collapse by the Eagles. I mean, they almost won a Super Bowl last year, and just the last 5 or 6 games, right? They just went in the toilet. Lost at home to Arizona.
Oh yeah, and then
Oh,
not competitive, frankly, in the
nope.
playoff game.
Disinterested.
And then I just, I know we get sick of the Chiefs. I'm certainly in that camp, even though I picked them to play the Niners when the playoffs started. Even though the Bills, my preseason pick, were still there. Look what it does when your QB is awesome, right? The running game opens up. Pacheco runs hard,
Yep.
but come on, that's also because Mahomes is sitting there. It
Yep.
doesn't matter that Kelsey's like 80% of his former self and that they have one wide receiver. Mahomes is utterly unflappable,
Rookie too.
and they feed off of the fact that he's never worried, never worked up,
Mhm.
and they just keep winning these games.
Something I did learn with the Bears, specifically with that Chiefs Bills game, is that if Fields absolutely maxed out his talent and potential, he's closer to Josh Allen than Patrick Mahomes, right? Would you
Sure.
agree with that? Yeah.
Where it's like, holy cow, how do you do that? Oh, what are we
Yeah.
doing here?
Yes, yeah. In terms of making
Well,
plays,
Allen is awesome. I mean, Allen's career playoff stats, 27 TDs, 4 interceptions. Again, I'd be doing backflips if we had a quarterback
I
doing that.
I know I get that, but the fact is Mahomes was still the better
Oh
quarterback
yeah,
when it
he
came
always
down
is.
to it. And that type of quarterback, I mean, he had one big scramble. Like, he's so smart when he runs, Mahomes.
It's almost ridiculous. Like the
Yeah.
joke is true. He's always just as fast as he needs to be and no faster.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
How is it
But
possible?
just what yeah, when it came down to it, he made the plays and Allen didn't. I
He
can't
pretty
help it.
much always just makes the play.
I know, that's what I mean. So I want that guy
Hard hitting analysis.
who can do
But yes.
say, yeah, shut up, man. Shut up.
No, I'm saying me saying he always
Oh,
makes the play.
okay.
No, that's why I would
Okay.
draft Williams because people are like, oh, you can't comp him to Mahomes. Yes, I can. That's the college tapes comp.
Mm.
Oh, he's not going to be Mahomes. Fine. Give me 80% of Mahomes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand that as a criticism. Like, oh, he's not Mahomes,
Yeah.
but he's close. So, oh no, we better avoid him. It's so
Mhm.
dumb. The conversation can be so dumb. All right.
Yeah. So anyway,
So it's like the
that's what
fifth
I
time
learned
we talked about
from that game
quarterbacks in the pod that we
specifically.
weren't going to talk about quarterbacks.
But we're not talking
You
about
can't have a football
ooh,
pod and not talk about the quarterbacks, right?
not what are the Bears going to do, but just what other teams look like. Like Jordan Love was better than Brock Purdy, you know.
Until the end, and then Purdy had a really great drive, and Love pulled a Favre.
Yeah. Oh, that was beautiful.
It was.
And
And then there was George Kittle's
George
comments the
Kittle.
other day.
He gave us
Always comes through for us.
a nice nugget too the other yesterday on Pat McAfee. I may have to drop that into the pod.
I'm sure our editor will throw that in here somewhere before this thing gets released.
Maybe.
Go Pack, go the home.
All right, I know you're busy, and I know I have to pack, so let's
Yes.
pick them.
Okay.
1 seeds versus the 3 seed.
Both conferences.
2 o'clock, KC at Baltimore. Baltimore favored by 3.5.
So
That's
basically,
Vegas basically saying it's as close as it can be.
yeah.
Rainy, supposedly.
Oh gosh, I know on paper it looks like Baltimore, but it's just hard to pick against Mahomes and Reed. You know, they had an off year. They had his worst year, right, as a pro. Mahomes.
This is his bad year.
Yes, this is his bad year.
Not for him.
So I guess I'll take Baltimore in a close one. I bet the Chiefs cover that. Shout out to Buddy Bryant.
I think there you go. I think Baltimore's better. And they have a
Yes.
much more complete roster.
Yes,
I think they
agreed.
have the actual MVP
Mm-hmm.
this particular season. And like I said last time, which was before the first round of the playoffs, I'm still not picking against the Chiefs until proven otherwise. Even though frankly, I am kind of tired of them.
Yeah.
But I guess just to be different, I'm going to keep saying that, and I'll pick the Chiefs, even though I do think Baltimore's a more complete team.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be a good one.
I do too.
Detroit at the Niners. Niners favored by 7.
Not
So
only
Vegas thinks they're going to get the ship righted in the passing game, is what that line tells me. Because they pretty much had to run to beat Green Bay.
not only do I think the Lions cover, I'm picking the Lions straight up to win, my friend. Because I like Aiden Hutchinson against Brock Purdy. I'm pretty much basing it out on that. So give me the Lions in a close one, headed to their first Super Bowl.
We're going to kick you in the teeth.
That would be a wild couple of weeks.
I just think it comes down
They
to
are coming in. You could argue they come in playing a little better. But Purdy's so good this year. I mean, I know the talent around him is really good. It's another one of those things where it's like this guy had a season that we would all kill the Bears quarterback.
I know,
kill for
but-
the Bears quarterback to have.
I know, but
But he
Green
didn't
Bay,
look great for most of that game.
right? Green Bay almost took him down, and Detroit's got a better line, better defensive line. Secondary's not as good, but man, I liked line play in these big games. Your fat guys against my fat guys, So that's
I
why.
think I disagree with you that they have a better D line. They
Okay.
have one guy. The Niners have Bosa, Hargrave, whatever's left of Chase Young. I think actually the way Green Bay came in playing, they beat a better team than the Bucks. Although the Bucks are playing really well too.
Yeah, they are. Baker Mayfield bought himself some more years in the league.
Just looking at some numbers on this game, Jared Goff had 4,500 yards. Crazy. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 119 catches and 1,500 yards.
Boy,
Ben Johnson is a stud coordinator.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pick the Niners at home. I think they learned from the end of that Green Bay game to quit going away from McCaffrey. It was killing me. Just like run up the middle 8 yards, run up the middle 8 yards. Stop doing it for half a quarter. It's like, would you give him the ball? It's tough though because you feel way better about them if Debo plays, and you don't know yet here on Wednesday if he's playing.
Yeah, very different.
Like I almost want to hedge it based on that.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, Buddy Brian, I wouldn't touch this game.
Yeah, hey, so we got some disagreement. This is awesome.
You suck, Chris.
Yeah. Well, you can come in and next show and rejoice.
Either way, it'll be entertaining because one of us can. Well, we can either be, one guy gets to gloat over the other, or we both got one right, or whatever.
Yeah, but we picked different teams in both games. That's a first, I think.
About time.
Which means I'm wrong, I'm sure. So
We got to get those disagreement clicks.
that's right. Yeah. Grumble, grumble. Yeah.
I'm going to throw something at my computer screen. Wait, no, that doesn't help. All right. Well, take us out of here since I know you've got teaching duties.
Yeah, I gotta
yet.
go teach. Gotta shape young musical minds here. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Barely Educated. Check out our website, buymeacoffee.com/barely_educated. We will send you a t-shirt if you join our honor roll for $3 a month. Also, shoot us an email, barelyeducatedpod@gmail.com. We're on all the socials at barely_educated. Enjoy this weekend of football. It's often better than the Super Bowl Sunday itself. and we will talk to you next week.
The Bears.
George Kittle.
A hero. Not the hero we deserved, but the hero we needed.
Go Pack, go the home.
I'm writing this down. This is good stuff.
Packers lose.
Go Pack, go the home.
And that's a real shame.
I love the Bears.